Professional wrestling. We all love it. Whether you're like me, and I know I'm like me, and if I wasn't like me, who the fuck else would I be? And you started watching professional wrestling in 1985, War to Sell the Score, Piper, Hogan, the pomp and circus pants of the Rock and Wrestling Connection, and you've watched professional wrestling, various promotions, various wrestlers throughout the goddamn decades. My God, it's hard to believe that I've been watching professional wrestling for 4 decades, but we always have our favorites, whether they're young, whether they're old, whether they started as teenagers, whether they got into professional wrestling in their 20s and their 30s. Some even started in their goddamn 40s, like Marty Wright, aka the Boogeyman. The whole point is professional wrestling is a mega tough business. Back in the territory days, the rings were like concrete. Yes, things are better now. The money's better. It's more spread out. We have a lot of people making freakish goddamn money for putting their bodies on the line day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. 5 years after 5 years, decade after decade. Some have been in professional wrestling since they were so goddamn young, they were barely out of goddamn diapers. I don't actually think that's the case, but when it comes to wrestling, many put their bodies through absolute goddamn hell. Some careers are snuffed out way too early. Some leave professional wrestling well before you would think that their physical prime has been hit, but they've just had enough. They have had all they can stand. They can't stand anymore. Some careers last about as long as they need to. Other careers go on way too goddamn long. Ric Flair, Chris Jericho, Hulk Hogan, and many, many others. What I'm here to talk about is the current rosters for 2 professional wrestling companies. WWE, AEW is going to be a multi-part series where I'm going to go through the entire goddamn roster and talk about the ages and talk about the respective talents and see what they have left to offer, what they have offered so far, and let's just get to it. I'm John Renthlan with my real honest thoughts on the Age of Wrestling WWE Part 1. Why Part 1? Because once I went to WWE.com, which you can find all the roster members on WWE.com, not on the Netflix, you can't find the ages there, but you can find a cornucopia amount of content, as well as on the cock. As of right now, I'm basically recording these and just, sending them out whenever I can. So I'm recording these in the 3rd week of January, just so you know, in case you don't pay attention to the timestamps and say, well, that's not correct. This wrestler's a lot older now. Their birthday passed. Excuse me for not having the clairvoyance to say, hey, by the way, this person's going to turn this age on this and this day. So that's basically what I'm doing. Going through the entire WWE roster. Man, woman, animal, vegetable, mineral. I'm not talking about backstage interviewers. I'm just talking about talent. So really, with that being said, part 1 starts with Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, the current WWE World Universal Heavyweight Championship of the goddamn galaxy. And Cody Rhodes has certainly fought through a lot. He reinvented himself on the indies. I'm not the biggest fan of Cody Rhodes. I kind of feel that his promos are a little bit too stagey, a little bit too theatrical, a little bit too acting. But he's moved a lot of merch, he's done a whole lot of stuff, and he really has become the focal point of WWE programming. After helping start AEW, and things not going all that well to the point we had the Codyverse, we got Brandy Rhodes saying, who told you it was open mic night, bitch? If Hoover Dam opened, she would have actually been yelling, who told you it was open dyke night, bitch? By the way, that's the name of the dam. That's another name for it. Nevertheless, Cody Rhodes did fight through the pec injury, got a surgery, came back, didn't finish the story of Mania 39, finished the story of Mania 40. And speaking of 40, he is actually going to be 40 just later this year. Now, there is no doubt that with how he is conditioned and with how he has kept his body in pretty peak performance. I mean, to be perfectly honest, he's really looked about the same. Like, he's had a few variations. Sometimes he's been a little bit cut, whatever. But he's going to be 40 this year. He's also said in interviews, and I don't know if that's changed, that he's not sure that he's going to wrestle, well into his 40s. The thing about Cody, I think Cody has a few years left before he really decides to hang up his boots, go more part-time and stuff like that. He's making so much money. He's getting so much goddamn attention. He is the biggest star in WWE as of this moment. But at, 40 years old, a little bit later this year, time is going to run short. This is not being ageist, by the way. None of this is me being ageist towards any of these talents. But I also recognize that regardless of conditioning, yes, there are people that can wrestle well into their 40s. But take a look at how some of them wrestle in Japan. Take a look at how some of them wrestle in various other companies, TNA and stuff like that. Some can still wrestle, some are broken down by 30. Cody is still going strong, heading into 40. But I think Cody will be done in a few years, and I think Cody has a lot left to give, but I don't know if it's going to be over a period of 5 or so years. That's just my take. Now we move on to Gunther, the current world champion, who is 37. Now his style, I think, will lend him to possibly wrestling until about 45. He's got time left. He'd been wrestling for a number of years before he got into WWE. And again, because of his style, because he has more submission-based stuff, the chops and stuff like that, and works safe, works strong, barring an unfortunate injury, I could see him wrestling for another 8 or so years. 37, yeah, it's only a couple years younger than Cody, but Cody also tries to do a little bit too much, the Cody Cutter, the disaster kick, that kind of stuff. Gunther will do the splash, will do the shotgun drop kick, but is safe and cut enough and also understands, the assignment, how to work a crowd and stuff like that, and is a little bit smarter than some of the people I'll mention on this goddamn list. So yeah, 5, maybe 8 years, and who knows? I mean, I think WWE would be stupid to let him go. So at 37, he's still got some time left. Rhea Bloody Ripley at 28 years old. Unless Hollywood comes calling, she wants to leave, she could wrestle for another 10 to 12 years. She could wrestle till at least 40. Because, yeah, she's had her injuries. Shoulder injury. She had the facial injury. She's had knee issues. At her size, and that's not being mean, but at her size, the fact that she has bulked up, she has, shown that she is one of the muscle mommies, as the I believe the internet has coined. That's a bit weird. That was like in Love Lies Bleeding. That was a lot of fun to watch. Nevertheless, Rhea Ripley was not in Love Lies Bleeding. She has accomplished so much already being in WWE since about 2017. And again, despite the aforementioned injuries, if Hollywood comes calling and she actually can knock it out of the goddamn park, she could be gone in a few years. But she is literally in the prime of her goddamn career. Prime of her career, physical peak, looks great, performs well, and has years and years left. So she is somebody they absolutely can hang their hat on, and thankfully have hung their hat on, as far as being somebody that's pegged as a star now and into the future. Tiffany Stratton, it's Tiffy time. I don't know if she can spell Utah. Thank you very much, Noah, for that. But she's 25 years old and has way, way more to give. Way more to give. I don't know why she is channeling Sabrina Carpenter with her goddamn gear. I had actually not been aware of Sabrina Carpenter until people kept sharing pictures and videos of her, and she can sing. Nevertheless, I don't know if Tiffany Stratton can sing, but she recently cashed in the Money in the Bank briefcase and is now the WWE Women's Champion. I think the World Championship is on Rhea Ripley. Whatever. The whole point is Tiffany Stratton at 25 years old. She's got it. She's getting better. Promos are a little bit too clueless-like, a little bit too character, a little bit too... It's hard to say because I think she actually can talk. It's a little bit too gimmicky. But she has come across well in interviews. And Tiffany Stratton at 25. I mean, yeah, she's another one Hollywood could come calling, but she's got that, prettiest moonsault ever. That is really, really impressive. Like, she has pretty much impressed right out of the goddamn gate. And it's just getting better and better. So then we get to the Braun Breaker Steiner. Yeah, we get to Braun Break Steiner. Mr. Steiner, the young Steiner. 27 years old. Current Intercontinental Champion. Barring a catastrophic injury or him just getting burned out on wrestling, he can wrestle another 15 years. He's got it. He's got the explosiveness. He is better as far as bad habits, compared to what his dad or his, uncle had. Just saying. He is a natural at this. He understands how to work the crowd already. Yes, he's had some bobbles, but the fact is like when you're learning on the fly, I mean, literally, he signed in February, March of 2021. It was on television for the debut of NXT 2.0. God, that was a bullshit time. But it did give us the Braun Breaksteiner. And man, he has been a fucking shining light on NXT and on Raw. He is really, really goddamn good. And again, only a catastrophic injury or burnout would prevent him from being one of the biggest stars in wrestling and main eventing multiple WrestleManias. Multiple fucking WrestleManias. Shinsuke Nakamura, that man is 44 and bless him. I'm sorry. And I love Nakamura. Loved his stuff in Japan. Had to go back and watch some of that stuff. He's been coasting. I don't blame him. He beat his body to shit for decent money in Japan. Has been getting paid freakish money in WWE. And even though his stuff with Sami Zayn when he first made his debut and the other stuff he has done, he has really, really, been a big star for them. But after that feud with AJ Styles, it's been just feud after feud that just hasn't gone all that well. He rarely wins. Yeah, he is, as of this recording, the current U.S. champion. Congratulations. It doesn't really fucking matter. And Nakamura at 44 years old, he's got 2 years left, if that. I don't know if he's even got that left because he can barely goddamn move. And me more character-based can work for him. But realistically, this guy has not been the same since he left New Japan. And has definitely not been the same even in WWE since that aforementioned feud with AJ Styles, where he kept hitting the nuts. Nuts to fist. Which I actually don't think is how he said that. Lyra Valkyria, 28 years old. I wasn't sure how to take her at first when she was Valkyrie, or however the fuck you goddamn say that, in NXT UK. Good. Talented. Looks good. Has a unique style that I think will lend to her having years and years left to give to wrestling. And at 28, at least 35, 37, unless she wants to be like Becky and go be a mother. I'm sorry. I'm so goddamn sorry. But I really like Lyra, and I think Lyra is going to be one of the bright stars of the future. Chelsea Green has cut her teeth on, various independents. She did well as a Laurel Van Ness, in TNA. She had a stint in WWE, didn't go all that well because unfortunately she kept getting wrist injuries. That really was unfortunate. But since returning, I wasn't all that sure and all that sold on her at first. She's won me over at 33. Character work is going to carry her far. She could end up being like the women's division version of R-Truth, where she takes bumps when necessary, but character-wise, she can end up having another 10 to 15 years if she wants to stick around in wrestling. She's stayed healthy so far, knock on wood, and as long as she does, as long as she wants to keep doing this, she's got years left. Dragon Lee, 29 years old. Hands up if you forgot Dragon Lee was even still in WWE. I'm not saying they were ever going to make this guy like a world champion like Rey Mysterio. I'm not even saying they were going to make him the Intercontinental Champion, but they could have still tried. People say he's a Speed Champion as of now. Great, that's great. The Speed Championship is bullshit, and I don't fucking care about it. But Dragon Lee is somebody that's very good. The teaming up with Rey hasn't done anything for him. They really have not been able to do anything good with. Yeah, he was North American Champion. And I get, maybe for freakish money, I don't blame him going to WWE. If he didn't get a good offer in AEW or didn't want to go there, I don't blame him. He's tired of making trips to Japan. I don't blame him. But my God, they have just totally botched this guy. And at 29, he's still got years left. He's still got plenty of prime. And they're wasting it. So, Candice LeRae is the current women's speed champion. She is 39 years old. I know that she's been wrestling for a while, but I did not realize that she was within like 5 goddamn years of my age. I mean, she works fine. She's bland. I don't like any of her promos. And even though that she didn't hit that moonsault at all in the women's war games, Candice LeRae at least is... Candice LeRae is liked by enough people and clearly is well respected by the locker room to where she is probably going to have a few more years. But at 39, I mean, I guess if she doesn't have any injuries, piling up, it'll be one thing. But that's, if I'm going to knock Cody for being almost 40, I believe Candice is going to turn 40 this year. I got to be fair to I got to be, fair between the men and the women. She is somebody that maybe could stick around for a few more years, but realistically, her best years are behind her, and I don't even remember any of her best years. They were probably before WWE. She can work, but I don't find her interesting. But yeah, she's one of the, I did not realize that she was that old. That means that good. She's stayed in good shape, and she's worked well. So both the War Raiders, Eric and Thivar, coming off of catastrophic injuries. Eric with the neck and Thivar with some knee injury or something. They're both 40. And at their size, 2 years, I mean, they were great as War Machine. And injuries aside, like, I don't think they really would have had that much left in with their, especially with Ivar. His size, he can move well, but it's just, you can tell that wear and tear. It's not going to be like Crusher Blackwell in the AWA, but it's going to end up affecting them sooner rather than later. I mean, it already has because of the injuries. So yeah, the War Raiders, I don't know if we necessarily need to build around them. I'm not saying, by the way, with any of these people that are 40, you need to, just totally get rid of them if they're 40, but you also have to look at wear and tear, because there are some that still have time left. And then there are some that are well done by the time that they are 35, and I'm not talking about the team of well done. That is a deep cut for new generation fans that nobody is going to get. So yeah, DIY. Johnny Gargano is 37 and Tommaso Ciampa is 39. And Ciampa's had a litany of injuries. That was before he got to WWE. Johnny Gargano needs to get back to Munchkin Land and meet the Garden Gnome on the side of the house for the King Munchkin or whatever. Ding dong, the witch is dead, witch old witch, the wicked witch, or the pixie witch. That's where Candace needs to go. Take the kid with him. Nevertheless, DIY, current tag team champions. Yeah, they're a heel team, and they're well-liked by Triple H, so I very much doubt that either of these two will be gone from the company. They'll probably both transition into being coaches. But my God, this is rehashing and re-rehashing something that wasn't all that great and was really stale by the time we got to 2020, 2021. So I hate to say it, but maybe the time to move past some of these guys isn't the worst mindset to have. I mean, I guess they still got years left. Technically, we all do, but given Ciampa's list of injuries and given Gargano's lack of personality, I don't know if we really should build around them. So then we have Bianca Belair. Did not realize she's 35. Not knocking, because she got into wrestling a little bit late. Like, she was in her, later 20s? She's good. Great, even. One of the best that they have. Not just women. One of the best they fucking have is otherworldly strong. Picking up Nia Jax, before Tiffany did her cash-in. My word. Even though I know Nia Jax cut some weight, so she's only about 75% of the sack of shit that she was. More on her in a bit. Bianca Belair at 35. Hollywood absolutely should come calling for her. She's got the personality and the physical charisma and the ability to excel if she wants to. But she's a natural at this. And another 5 to 7 years, absolutely. She absolutely has that left in her. So she's pretty much, I think, locked in her prime right now. Naomi is 37. I know Naomi's been around for a bit. I didn't realize Naomi was 37. She glows. She lights up your life. She decides to spice up your life like the Spice Girls. That's an old reference. I think Naomi's probably got 3 years, if we're being honest here. I mean, I'm just blue skying this stuff here. Not sky blue, more on her with the AEW part. But, Naomi made a triumphant return after doing pretty well as Trinity in NXT, in TNA. And I think quite frankly should be a singles champion again. I just wonder if they're going to worry about, pushing younger people and seeing her not necessarily old, but more as a veteran, somebody to build and then put the younger people over. I think she's got one more singles run in her. But at 37, time is ticking away for the prime right here. Opa Femi is 26. God forbid they got money in this guy. You can print money with this guy. He is really, really fucking good. Current NXT champion, has the size, has the ability, works like a big man, and has the promo, and the promos are getting better. That's a 10 to 15 year run that he can have. Really, really good. Julia is 30, world traveled, great, Really, really talented in the ring. A fucking smoke show. God damn it, she's gorgeous. But Julia, I don't know if Julia is going to last more than 5 years in WWE though. Because you think about all the bumps and bruises, pain, blues, and agony that she took in Japan. If she wants to check out after 5 more years, I don't blame her. Now, she has the ability to go for another 10 years if she wants. But 30, that's right around the sweet spot where I think she's got at least 5 to maybe even 7 more prime years, as long as she stays healthy. Tony D'Angelo at 29 years old, whatever, is what it is. I mean, the character's over. I'm kind of over the character, though. But, if they make it a little less cartoonish, he's somebody they could use. I don't know how well he'd do on the main roster, though. I just don't fucking know. I would be very, very fucking surprised if he's not just kind of treated as a jobber. But as far as years left in wrestling, I mean, 29, 39, 40, so another decade. Becky Lynch is 37, going to be 38 pretty goddamn soon. The man is coming back around, possibly at the Rumble, and is twilight of her career, not because she's old, not because she's broken down. I think that she has done everything she needs to do. Main event WrestleMania, won the Rumble, is now a mother, and has been. I'm sorry, I can't get over that. And she is somebody that, probably wants to move on, do something else with her life. I'm just guessing here. She's still got years left if she wants to do it, but if she wants to raise her daughter, she's made a shit pot full of money. She's going to sign a new contract or has signed a new contract, and that will probably be her last active contract. She could still coach. She could do whatever. Becky Lynch is pretty much just coasting on her reputation at this point. Not that she doesn't put the effort in the ring, but look at all she's accomplished. And look at what, is still left in her life, more importantly, not just her career. If she wants to go raise her kid, I don't blame her one goddamn bit. So, we then go to Berto. Hey, Berto. Humberto Carrillo. Why do they call him Berto? So goddamn stupid. I mean, he's 29. Talented guy. I don't see any future in him beyond where he is. I think he'll just be a tag team wrestler, and that's fine. If he's happy with that, okay, but I don't think he's ever going to be a breakout star. Big E is 38. Okay, he's not an active wrestler, but I'm putting him here. I hold out hope that he'll show up at the Rumble. I just hold out hope. He'll show up. Kofi and Xavier, maybe he'll be in it, and we can get that moment. And then if we get a 3-way, if we get Big E, and I'm just fancy booking here, if we get Big E back in the ring, even if it's just for a limited run, and he faces off against Kofi and Xavier at Mania and says pins them both, all for that. It would be a great way to basically shine a light on Big E. And at 38 though, and he's been out of the ring now for closing on 3 years, if he is never able to come back, that's fine. The man accomplished a whole lot, not just a New Day, but becoming a WWE champion. I'm just happy he has a great quality of life. I wish he was still in the ring, but whatever, he's happy with. Braun Strowman, he's 41 years old with the knees of an arthritic 61-year-old man. He's shot physically. He cannot do this. He has not been able to do this for a few years. I would argue the peak of his powers was the Roman Reigns feud. Ever since at least 2020, possibly 2021, last few years it has been sad. And yes, he's a big guy and the knees are going to wear down, but jeez. Braun's done in a year. I mean, he's already basically done now. I think he's just earning whatever before he has to either do the indies or go do, big man, bodyguard stuff in movies, because he really physically can't wrestle anymore. So, Bronson Reed, here comes Bronson, 36 years old, coming off of whatever the foot ankle injury is. Whenever he comes back, I can see him doing well. I just really hope that for his size, that maybe he, trims down a little bit, because I could see it being a Crusher Blackwell situation. A lot of Crusher Blackwell love on this particular video. But yeah, he's mid-30s. Probably won't be back until he's 37. But I just hope that he can stay healthy. I just hope he can, because he was doing some great stuff, and then the unfortunate injury in War Games. 5 years for him, maybe. I mean, honestly, I'd say 5 years for him, just because of his size. So, Brutus Creed is 28 years old. As long as he stops Brutus balling people in the face, that's not a euphemism. And him and Julius will end up being just a perennial tag team. I don't see either of them being... Well, Julius could be a breakout star, but with the way they're being presented, i.e. not that well. I mean, there's time. 28, it's not like he's 38. More on that in a bit. But Brutus has potential, but I think he will probably end up being the Marty Jannetty of the team. Speaking of 38, let's go to Chad Gable. Okay, as long as he got really good money, I don't blame him for staying with WWE, and maybe he was happy there. If he was 5 years younger, he might have gone to AEW. Probably better that he didn't, given what they don't do with people in a proper way, in awful English. And Chad, this is probably his last, run. He still can work. He still can do great stuff. But, Father Time is undefeated is the whole point of this goddamn thing, and I think Chad Gable could easily be done by 41, 42. Because realistically, if they don't give him a fucking championship and actually do something with him, people are going to lose faith, and then he's just going to be doing enhancement work, and people are just going to kind of forget that he's actually really fucking good in the ring. The time is now if you are going to utilize Chad Gable properly. World champion, don't see it. Intercontinental, I see it. The time was probably last year for him to beat Gunther, honestly. 46 years old for CM Punk. He is done by Mania 43. Maybe even Mania 42. Yeah, limited wrestling appearances, or in-ring appearances. He knows his time is done. And if he wants to be a coach, be a commentator, I'm all for him being a commentator. I'm all for him replacing Pat McAfee. He would bring something better out of Michael Cole. CM Punk is in the twilight of his career. He's doing great mic work. The matches are what they are. His run in AEW proved he still had something, but Father Time is undefeated. And Father Time is not just nipping at CM Punk, it has latched onto him. Cruz del Toro, Raul Mendoza, he's 33. Another perennial tag team guy. Not bad in the ring. I mean, still years left, but, just a guy on the card. Dakota Kai, 36 years old, multiple knee injuries. I really hope that Dakota Kai can have, a resurgence, so to speak. It's not that she's plateaued, but I just hope she can resurge. Because it has been a tough go for her. She wasn't sure until she came back to SummerSlam 2021 that she was... Yeah, it was 2020. Was it 2021, 2021, 2022 that she was actually going to end up being... or sticking with wrestling, but she did, and thankfully it worked out. So, Dakota Kai, yeah, I gotta be perfectly honest, I think it's still useful, but the injuries and, if any more injuries happen, age and that's gonna kind of cool her off, and that's sad to say. So, Damian Priest, he's 42. His best years are behind him. He can still work. He is still a talented big man. He can do some good stuff. And he will be a guy that will get a good reaction and can do impressive stuff. The Chokeslam has an intimidating look. 42. And the prime is past. A couple more years. That's about it. But he's made some really good money and come from basically nothing. Come from a hard life. Working on the indie, childhood. Rough time, working on the indies as well. He has basically achieved the dream of everybody. Not just the American dream of everybody, and has done really, really good. But age-wise and everything, and just prime passing him a couple more years. Dexter Lumis. Deceptively old at 41. Good talent. That's about it. I mean, I guess character-wise, the Wyatt Six will do him some good. But yeah, I mean, really, he's just a guy that's just there. Dominic Mysterio, if he keeps the character work up and basically doesn't suffer the type of injuries his dad suffered, he wants to stick for another 10 to 15. I don't see how he is. It's scary to say, but he could end up becoming a world champion there. And probably will end up staying in WWE. Now, he could go elsewhere if he wants. He could go get some experience in Japan. But as long as his dad's actively wrestling, I don't see Dominic Mysterio leaving. Now, he might want to explore elsewhere, but I don't know if he would be featured as well anywhere else. So I think he's going to be a perennial WWE lifer. They utilize him well. He gets good reactions. You know, negative or otherwise, he still gets a reaction. And he's done a lot better than I would have thought. He's gotten to the point where it's like I can at least tolerate the stuff that he does. Drew McIntyre, 39 years old. Honest to God, I don't see him becoming a world champion again. Still in great shape. Still doing great mic work. Still doing some great stuff. Came back in 2017 after reinventing himself on the indies and has done great stuff since. But at his size, regardless of conditioning, at his size, that's going to start to break down to where 42, 43, he's going to have to start thinking about, probably easing back. So, speaking of which, in their 40s, Eric Rowan. I'm going to put Eric Rowan and Finn Balor next to each other. Eric Rowan, he was getting hurt, and he's in the Wyatts, and he's a big guy, and I know it's to tribute Bray, so good. Whatever. Finn Balor's 43, and in great shape, can still work, but, let's be perfectly honest. If Finn Balor is still wrestling by 45, 46, I will be shocked. Because I don't know what else there is for him to do. Just take bumps, just do shit. That's really about it. Like, there's not really anything else he can do. Because he's never going to be a world champion again. He's never going to be a world champion. He was a Universal Champion for one day, and then he was the NXT Champion again. I don't see it happening for him. And finishing off with Ilya Dragunov. 31. I actually threw the list aside before realizing that. Ilya Dragunov is a tremendous talent. Is somebody that can do, that, really makes it look like he's getting hit hard, hitting people hard. He's safe, though. You can tell he's safe. And once he comes back from the torn ACL or torn something, it's something in his knee or something. I think it's something in his knee. The whole point is, if he can come back by WrestleMania, I wouldn't mind seeing him and Gunther on a big stage. I just don't think they're going to go that route. Ilya, I don't know if he ever will be a world champion on the main roster, but at 31, staying injury-free, he's got that style, he's got that look, he's got that intensity. 10 solid years of being a guy to put on great matches and get some opportunities and have some great feuds. He can do what he was doing in NXT UK on NXT. Ilya Dragunov is somebody they can absolutely prominently feature. Maybe not build the company around. Maybe not feature in the main events, at least that often. But he is somebody to feature. So that's where I'm going to leave off part 1. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. How much do you think, some of these talents, you don't have to name all of them. How much do you think some of these talents have left? Because there are some that are in their 30s that don't have much left. There are some in their 40s that don't have much left. But then you flip that, there are some in their 30s that have years left. And then there are some in their 40s that have years left. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Rethlin, and I'll see you soon.